Welcome to another video of Food Nourish's Deep Dives, the videocast of foodnourish.net, where we explore topics like health, food, supplements, and alternative approaches to health and wellness. Today, we're digging into a really fascinating report called Merchants of Poison. It claims to pull back the curtain on a corporate playbook that's allegedly used to shape public opinion, scientific debate, and even government rules, all to protect one incredibly profitable product. Let's dive in. The story really starts here, with this infamous quote from a tobacco industry executive back in 1969. For decades, when the science was becoming crystal clear that smoking caused cancer, the industry's strategy wasn't to prove their products were safe. No, their strategy was to create doubt. Their whole goal was to make the science seem unsettled, to muddy the waters, and to delay any kind of regulation for as long as humanly possible. And this wasn't just a one-off thing. The report we're looking at argues this became a repeatable, predictable playbook. The core idea is kind of simple, really. If the science threatens your profits, you don't change your business. You go on the attack against the science itself. And it's a strategy that's been used over and over again to protect all sorts of products. Which, of course, brings us right to the central question of today's explainer. The Merchants of Poison report investigates whether this exact playbook has been rolled out to defend one of the most widely used chemicals in modern agriculture. So let's talk about glyphosate. You probably know it as the active ingredient in Roundup. For decades, it was a massive product for Monsanto, and now for Bayer, which bought Monsanto a few years back. But in 2015, a huge crisis emerged that, the report alleges, triggered the full force of this corporate playbook. To really get the scale of this crisis, you kind of have to see how glyphosate became so dominant. It was registered way back in '74, but the real game changer was in 1996 with Roundup Ready crops. See, these genetically modified seeds could survive being sprayed with the herbicide, so farmers could just douse their entire fields, and use just skyrocketed. Then, in 2015, the World Health Organization's prestigious cancer agency, the IARC, dropped a bombshell. It classified glyphosate as a probable human carcinogen. And this chart right here just brilliantly illustrates the impact of those Roundup Ready crops. I mean, just look at it. Between 1990 and 2014, the use of glyphosate in U.S. agriculture spiked by over 3,000%. It became one of the most common chemicals in the entire world, found in our food, our water, even in our bodies. The market was just enormous. So you really have to understand, the IARC ruling in 2015, this wasn't some obscure scientific paper. This was a direct threat from a major global health agency to the foundation of a multi-billion-dollar product. And according to the report, this is the moment the company went into full-on product defense mode. We're going to take a quick pause here. If you're looking to stock up on any wellness products or supplements, do yourself a favor and head over to foodnourish.net/deals. We've pulled together all the best discounts from major brands like Perpetual Life, iHerb, Source Naturals, Nootropics Depot, Bioptimizers, the whole shebang. It's a great way to save some money, and it also helps us keep making these deep dives. The link for that is right in the description of this video. All right, welcome back. So how does a company allegedly fight back against a major finding from the World Health Organization's own cancer agency? Well, according to the Merchants of Poison report, you don't do it yourself. You deploy the playbook. Let's break down the specific tactics that are alleged in the report. Okay, first, it's really important to understand this concept of a product defense industry. The former head of OSHA, David Michaels, actually coined the term to describe this whole network of consultants and PR firms that specialize in one thing: manufacturing doubt and producing the scientific results that their corporate sponsors pay them for. The report really boils down Monsanto's alleged strategy into three key tactics. First, you corrupt the science itself to create a body of literature that supports your product. Second, you mobilize a whole network of third-party allies, academics, front groups, associations, to spread that message for you. And third, if that still doesn't work, you attack the credibility of the scientists and the institutions that dare to challenge you.
Now, this is where things get really interesting. This is a direct quote from an internal Monsanto email that was uncovered during litigation. The report alleges that back in 2015, as the company was planning a new scientific paper to counter that IARC ruling, a toxicologist suggested ghostwriting it. That's where the company does the actual writing, and then outside academics just edit and sign their names. And he even references a 2000 paper implying, hey, this is how we've done it before. So let's talk about the second tactic, building an echo chamber. The report alleges Monsanto didn't just create its own science, it built a whole network to amplify it. This apparently involved organizations that looked independent on the outside but were allegedly pushing pro-industry talking points. The report points to groups like Academics Review and the American Council on Science and Health as examples, organizations that would attack critics while allegedly taking corporate money behind the scenes.
And that brings us to the third tactic, attacking the messenger. This quote from the French newspaper Le Monde really sums up the report's allegations of a coordinated, aggressive campaign to just discredit the IARC and its scientists. The strategy wasn't just to disagree with their science, but to paint the entire institution as fraudulent, as having an agenda, and as being fundamentally anti-science. So the big question is, did this playbook work? Well, in the court of public opinion and with regulators, the debate is still very much alive. But in actual courts of law, the story took a very different and very, very expensive turn. Let's look at the real-world fallout. In 2018, just as the first massive lawsuits were getting underway, the pharmaceutical giant Bayer bought Monsanto for a staggering $63 billion. They literally bought the company right at the peak of this massive legal storm.
And the scale of that storm was just immense. Over 125,000 lawsuits have been filed in the U.S. alone. These are from people from all walks of life: farmers, groundskeepers, regular homeowners, all alleging that their exposure to Roundup caused their cancer.
After losing the first 3 major trials, Bayer ended up setting aside roughly $14 billion to settle the vast majority of these cancer claims. That is a massive financial price tag tied directly to this scientific debate over glyphosate safety.
And this quote right here from the U.S. district judge who was overseeing a lot of the litigation is incredibly telling. After he reviewed the company's internal documents that were presented as evidence, he concluded that a jury could reasonably find that the company was more focused on manipulating public opinion than on figuring out whether its product was actually giving people cancer.
So, after all of that, what are we supposed to take away from this? The Merchants of Poison report really argues that this story isn't just about one chemical or one company. It's about a much, much bigger picture concerning the integrity of science itself. The ultimate argument of the report is that the whole glyphosate story is really a case study in a fundamental conflict. It shines a big spotlight on the tension between corporate profit motives and public health, and it shows just how difficult it can be for the public and even for regulators to get clear information when science itself becomes a PR battleground. And that really leaves us with the critical question that's at the heart of this entire explainer. When science and profit collide, how do any of us know what or who to believe? You can find links to the resources we used, including the full Merchants of Poison report, right there in the episode's description. If you found this deep dive valuable, please do us a huge favor and hit that like button. It really helps us grow our channel and continue delivering these deep dives into important health matters. And of course, subscribe to our channel so you never miss another episode. Thanks for joining us.